Let's just imagine a society that you live in and there is this one particular person who has a house, good one, well constructed, well structured, looks fancy and everything. But his eye is on your house. You would have a problem with that, right? But let's just say he wants to claim, occupy multiple other houses as well. So what will happen in the society? Will that society retaliate, give options to him legally or take an action on him legally, or actually try to make him understand, or any of this sort? This is a possibility, right? But this exact same thing is happening at the global scale, where US is not targeting just one but 2 to 3 countries outrightly. If you see in the given map, you will see that US has not marked only Canada but also Greenland, and if you can see clearly, Venezuela as well. But the question here is, we have world leaders sitting in the picture and we have world leaders sitting outside the picture as well. But why aren't they raising their voices? What is the message that picture is giving, and what is the position that President Donald Trump or the US is holding, that nobody is making the noise, nobody is going against it? Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are not only going to understand that what exactly is unfolding with this new map that has been put forth of US, but we will also be discussing that how powerful or how dangerous or how manipulative US president stands as of now, that nobody is daring to raise a voice. This is the global order that was decided to stay peacefully when finally the Second World War got over. So let us try to understand all of this in great detail, starting with the controversial map that we are talking about. So this particular map was shared in a post where there was a meeting, and in this particular meeting, if you say, we have European leaders as well present. But the most controversial thing is not the leaders but the map here, where US has seemingly occupied, covered Canada, Greenland and also Venezuela. Now when we are talking about Canada, this has previously also happened where President Donald Trump talked about occupying or claiming the territory of Canada, and there was not retaliation but diplomatic message and diplomatic warning that was given. But when we talk about Greenland, which is the hot cake as of now in terms of geopolitics, this is something that comes as a shock because Donald Trump is not shying away in terms of considering options, be it military or others. So this also asks us that why is there so much interest in Greenland, or is this new? The interest is so peaked that same tool, tariffs, is being used by US, that President Donald Trump has warned that if anybody is going to go against his plan, we have one shock treatment for all, that is tariffs. Now when we are talking about Greenland, this is not the first time that President Donald Trump has shown his interest in this particular country. In 2019, he talked about purchase. Now one question might arise, who will he purchase it from? So this Greenland, this huge island, is the territory of Denmark. Another important and fun fact here is Denmark is one of the founding members of NATO. So an attack on Greenland not only creates crisis for NATO, I have covered that in detail already in a video, you can go and watch that. But at the same time, it opens a plethora of opportunities for US. And that is exactly what US is targeting. US is focused on itself, self-serving purposes, be it the accessibility to the Arctic sea routes, be it accessibility in terms of resources which are present in Greenland, be it the rare earth minerals, be it the bases and their expansion that can take place. Can you tell me in the comment section which is the only base as of now located in Greenland which is by US? So clearly US sees that it as a very long-term resource. It will also help in serving an important purpose, that it will contain the adversaries such as Russia and China. And there is no harm in expanding territory and getting more advantages out of it. So this is a great interest that lies in Greenland. I have also covered this in a previous video. We have discussed in detail. You can go and watch that as well when we are talking about specifically just Greenland. Now in this context, one thing is very clear, that Greenland, be it for US, be it for Denmark, this is the place which has become the central point, or you can say the gateway to the Arctic politics that will unfold, because climate change is happening. The ice is going to melt out, the sea routes, the aviation routes are going to open up here. The way we are going, this is not going to stop. So this is the gateway to the Arctic politics, which is going to be a major point in coming days. Now that is why the picture that has been put forth becomes important, because it does two important work for Donald Trump. First, it sends a clear strategic message that US wants it with them, and they will do whatever it takes. So this is a strategic message to everybody, not just adversaries but also to allies. And this shows that US's wants are going to dominate the global order. So the diplomatic restraint that was exercised, that is not important. What is important? What US wants. And why US is doing this? US is doing this for power. So power politics, the muscle is always going to go above merit, which we see around in the society. This is happening at the global scale. In this context, US, what does US want? US want a special treatment because they have power. What kind of special treatment? They want special rights over the Arctic region in form of Greenland. And the second thing that this particular map has done is created a psychological impact as well. First, it will clearly normalize any sort of territorial revisions. How it will do it? I'll give you an example here. Back in 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea, before that it had also published such maps to legitimize their action. This has been done by China also, where it publishes map of South China Sea, putting up their historical maritime claims. So this is a very clear strategy which is being executed. Apart from that, what else is being done in terms of psychological impact? You will also see that President Donald Trump will be able to get the international reaction, who are actually going to form in the list of adversaries and who are going to come in the list of allies. That will be understood from this particular reaction, which the impact will be created by the image. And he will also understand that how this will be perceived by his domestic political setup as well. And in terms of domestic foray, when we are talking about, in this context, it directly strengthens his idea of making America great again. So all the population which is on the side of making America great again, for them US's territory expanding is definitely a great idea. So this map is not a random post that has been sent across. It is a very clear strategic testing message which has been put across, and the reactions across it will tell you what is going to unfold. But this brings me to the actual question where we started this discussion with, that why this particular post or why this particular map which has shown has not created riot across the world. Why aren't the global leaders telling President Donald Trump to mind his place? Why, or actually what is the power that President Donald Trump has? Or is it the US president, or Donald Trump is extorting and expanding the powers of the US president? Now this is where we will move our conversation. So when we have understood this part first, now when we are moving to the second part, we need to understand what is the source of power when we are talking about US president, and then we are also going to correlate it with Donald Trump. So the first source of power is the constitution itself. If we talk about our country, the president is the nominal head of the state. But when we are talking about US, the constitution here is such, he is not only the executive, he is not only the head of the state, he has the executive authority to him. And especially that executive authority comes with guarding national interests. He also has all sorts of criminal immunity as well. So whatever he is doing, if it is about national security, national interest, because he has the executive authority, that remains protected. Apart from that, a huge base is still swayed by making America great again, which gives him a great control over the Republicans, and that is why he is able to go ahead with whatever he wants as of now. And this all leads to administrative centralization, where there is increased use of executive orders, there is direct control over regulatory authorities. Then he is also commander-in-chief. Then he has also the executive authority present with him. There is reduced judicial restraint that we have seen. So all of this makes him feel very powerful. So that is one part of the story, why he feels so powerful, why he is being uncontrolled. He has a lot of reasons backing him. But the question is, what are the external factors? Why the other people are not calling this out? So when we move into this, we have to understand that it is not about how powerful this person is, it is about what he can do to global order. He is already doing a lot of things, we will be getting into that as well. In that context, we have to understand that first, any retaliation against US is impossible in terms of military factors. Why? Anything that goes wrong will go into escalation, and nuclear escalation is possible. Why? We are not talking about just nuclear. Military power is unmatched in terms of what US holds. Furthermore, there are certain legal barriers as well, which Donald Trump doesn't mind, but the other countries do. That is diplomatic restraint. We cannot go and enter their sovereign matters. What US wants to do, it is between US and the other country. If India is going to intervene, we will be seen as the one who interferes. We don't want that. So legally also that there is limitation. The international order, which Donald Trump does not respect, but international order is set on this respect of diplomatic restraint, minding their own businesses, not going into the sovereign matters. And more than the legal barriers, it is also about the economic barriers. There is dollar dominance. Every big economy is associated with the US in terms of trade, in terms of defense, in terms of finances. There is some sort or the other of dependence that we get to see. So nobody is interested in going out and calling this. But what they are doing? They are saying, so what are the options available to them? The options they have available is the diplomatic protest. They have NATO consultations, or they can go for symbolic resistance, or they can focus on strategic autonomy like India is trying to do. These are the options available. All in all, it is about keeping your foot away from World War III. Because if we look into what can be done, there is a lot that can be done. But the most important question is that what are the consequences? The long-term consequence, if not immediate, if anything that would be done to US is this. And that is why countries are shying away, maintaining restraint, focusing on other options so as to ensure that this is not the end answer. Same thing you will get to see in West Asia, where Saudi Arabia, which does not sit with Iran, UAE does not sit well with Iran, but they are still lobbying with other countries and convincing US, do not attack Iran. Because once that attack happens, it will bring in other external players, Russia, China, and this World War III will be the end goal. So all in all that we are getting to see as of now is the extreme harm that is being done by President Donald Trump. And extreme danger that he is posing. Because if you talk about, as I mentioned, after World War II, we looked into a global order that was set up. And that order was set up based on sovereignty, that countries will mind their own business. It was based on global institutions, multipolar institutions, UN, WTO, NATO, and there were stable alliances. They were not issue-based parallel alliances where, okay, we are connecting on this issue, we are connecting on that issue, but my strategic partner is the other country. No, there were stable alliances. They stood committed to that. For example, nobody was withdrawing immediately, and there was a rule-based conflict resolution. But all of these things that I have mentioned, as of now, they have gone out of the picture, and this can be associated with this particular person. So as a result, what we are seeing, I am just showing you a few of the things, that is that India is being forced to leave Chabar port. That is India's matter. You have a thing against Iran, you manage it. No, India will have to face the tariffs. If we are talking about another thing that is unfolding, West Asia in great chaos. All the nations are in a cautious mode. US has already exited 66 international institutions, including International Solar Alliance. That is a point for India. I have covered this, you can go and watch that video. Urban Gulf states, they are warning US that they should not, Arab Gulf states are warning US that he should not attack Iran. Trump is again talking about 500% tariffs and so much more. The capture of Venezuela president, and now this map by Iran. So this is a story that is not telling that how Donald Trump is being put powerful by internal powers, but how also the external restraint is shaping up this position. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. That was all from my end. Thank you so much.